Welcome to Aired Out, brought to you by Capitol Showplace Montpelier and Paramount Theater Barrie. At FGBtheaters.com, CW Print and Design in Barrie, at CWPrintDesign.com, Peak Entertainment, PeakDJ.com, Cruise Planners, your land and cruise experts. In Vermont, CruisePlanners.com, Donnybrook Fight Promotions of Williamstown, CBDCrave.com. Presented by CVTV, Public Access Channel 192 and 194, CVTV723.org, Fontaine Forestry and Millworks, Route 14 East Montpelier. Custom orders, rough, kiln dry, plain, tongue and groove, or shiplap. FontaineMillworks.com and Fly on the Wall Productions. Now, let's get aired out.
Well, here we are, the final day of July. Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Wednesday. I'm J.D. Green. You've got Aired Out. We're here live at the Central Vermont Television Studios on Main Street in Barrie, and it is with great pleasure that we bring onto camera and into your ears our very own governor. Governor Phil Scott, thank you so much. I can't thank you enough for taking some time out of your ridiculous schedule to be here.
Well, thanks very much for having me on.
Now, what was going on earlier today? What did you have to break free from to get here?
It's just an action-packed day. It's just one meeting after another.
Yeah.
Yesterday, we were out on the road. We're down in Windsor County for our capital for a day.
Yeah.
Really interesting concept. I started this probably a year and a half ago, where we go out once every 4 to 6 weeks, and we go to a different county, bring the entire cabinet, my whole team, out on the road.
Wow.
And then we get out there, we have our cabinet meeting in the morning, and then we split up and go to different areas of the county, and really just to listen, to hear, touch, and feel what they're feeling.
Where'd you go yesterday?
Windsor County.
Okay.
So we started off in Chester.
Yeah.
Was down in the hotel there, and then we went from there and went to the correctional facility, talked to a number of the offenders there, toured the facility, then went to the Scotland House for lunch. It's a senior day facility.
Wow.
And then went to Billings Museum, had a press conference there, then to the Woodstock, the Journal, and did an interview with the editorial board, and then at the end of the day, it was a lot of fun.
End of the day.
I went to Suicide 6.
Oh, yeah.
And they have a downhill ride. They're a mountain bike trail system. So you ride up on the lift, and then you ride back downhill on a mountain bike. Pretty thrilling.
Now, was it your own bike?
They had one there for me.
Okay.
I ride a lot now, mostly on the road, but some mountain biking. But this is my first time going downhill on a ski slope. They have bank turns. It's really, really cool.
You really have to. I've done it. I did it at JP.
Oh, did you?
And I mean, the hammering on the wrists. I mean, you really got to.
Well, with the bikes that they have now,
yes,
the suspensions are
it's
so
true.
good. And you can go, they have different levels of trail. We went down the green slope.
Yeah.
But they have manufactured banking in, hairpin turns and so forth. But you can go down slowly for those who don't want that, or if you want a thrill, you can go down some of the more expert trails and catch a lot of air as you're going down. But it's really a lot of fun. It took us, 6 to 8 minutes to get down, 6 to 8 minutes to go up. You can keep going around and around. Really affordable. I think it was $170 for a season's pass.
Whoa!
And that will take you up and down the slopes. Then you have to rent the bike. But again, really, really interesting. Mountain biking has taken off in Vermont.
Sure.
And we're becoming known throughout the country as the mountain bike state in the country.
You ever been up to the big one up in St. Johnsbury there?
Yeah, up at Burke, Kingdom Trails.
Kingdom Trails.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of it. Kingdom. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, amazing trail
And
system.
Millstone right here in Graniteville.
Millstone's another great one. And what the vision is, and what I would love to see happen in the state, because it's part of our economy and it's very attractive to many, is a trail system that starts at the border up in the Northeast Kingdom and ends up down at our southern border.
Very cool.
In the Bennington area.
Yeah.
And if we can connect all those trails
some hotels
someday,
and restaurants,
it would
be great.
It's going to be great. It's going to take probably decades to do that, but you got to start somewhere.
Right. So year 3 of 4, is that where we are now?
That's right. Yeah. So 2-year cycles here in Vermont. We're one of only 2 states that have 2-year terms.
Yeah.
Us in New Hampshire.
So what I'm going to ask you then? Are you going to run again?
Well, we'll see. I'm going to get through this legislative session and then make a decision after that. It's way too early.
Sure.
I mean, I think people are tired of elections right now.
Right.
It's just started on the national level, and I don't think they want to hear about this. I was just sworn in 7 months ago.
I know.
7 months ago. So I think we should get through at least a year.
So I'm going to throw a few words at you. Affordability, the homeless, opioids, marijuana, infrastructure, taxes.
Yeah.
Which of those words jumps out at you as the biggest challenge that you think you have faced?
Yeah, all the above. And, part of my mission when I was first elected into office, I set out the guidelines of my administration, and it was to grow the economy, make Vermont more affordable, and protect the most vulnerable. So everything you mentioned and all those words will fit into one of those buckets. And it's as appropriate.
Those are huge buckets.
Yeah.
Each of them.
It's as appropriate today as it was 2.5 years ago. If we have a stagnant population in Vermont, 626,000 people.
Yeah.
We need to grow that. We have more jobs here than we have people to fill them. So
Correct.
We need to be more affordable, welcome more people in, invite people in. And part of that is, leveraging all the assets we have. We're a great state. We have a lot of attributes. We're a great state to live in.
I have 2 parents who are right here locally in Barrie in nursing homes. And both nursing homes are almost daily dealing with a shortage of workers.
It's across every single sector.
Everywhere.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Whether it's
Of course.
lawyers or doctors or teachers or you name it. Every sector. Tradespeople.
Sure.
We don't have enough tradespeople in this state.
No doubt.
And there's an opportunity. If you want to work in this state, if you want a job, there's no reason you can't find one.
Yeah.
It may not be exactly what you want.
Sure.
But there's an opportunity for you right here.
I agree.
The job, we have this like a website, Job Link, it's called, through the Labor Department.
Yeah.
We have, and that's not all the jobs listed in Vermont, but we have about 8,500 jobs listed right now.
Sitting right there.
How many people do you suppose are on unemployment right now?
I understand.
7,500. So that
Is that what it is?
Yeah, 7,500 on unemployment, 8,500 jobs listed just in that listing. So that pretty much sums it up. We have the lowest unemployment rate in the country right now, 2.1%.
And we just lowered that just recently.
Down to 2.1.
Yep.
And some governors would go around saying, that's great news. We have low unemployment. We're doing something right. But it doesn't tell the whole story. We have a workforce shortage.
Yeah, we do.
And that equates into a low unemployment rate. And while low unemployment rate's good news in some respects, not for Vermont right now. What we need is more people.
I was up at the nursing home with Mom today. We had a nice group of residents that we all got into a big circle. And I said, guess who I'm going to be chatting with today? The governor. And I grabbed a pen because
they had questions?
They had a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And one of the comments and questions was not only, it was a lot of topic of affordability that came up for the state of Vermont, but the state workforce seems bigger. We used to outsource. We're not doing that anymore. That's a great thing. That's a great thing.
Yeah. Well, we're trying to live within our means, obviously. But
I heard, by the way, nothing but positive comments.
Oh, well, that's nice.
God's honest truth.
Nice to hear.
So you got some fans up there at Barrie Gardens.
Yeah. Well, we have to take care of them too, right?
Of course we do.
They gave a lot to us, each and every one of us. We're going to end up just where they are at some point.
Yeah.
And we have an obligation to make sure that that we take care of them through the end of their lives and respect them.
What's happening with our state with Medicare and Medicaid? And man, there's so much there, as you've seen right in your backyard. There's protesting going on all the time in Montpelier, not only just about that, but also about the homeless. What's your take on that?
I think our economy could be better. Obviously, it's something that we've focused on, and the good news is we can change it, but we're going to have to just focus in the right areas. I'm really concerned about the rural parts of our state, and when I say our economy is doing well, it's doing pretty good in Chittenden County, and that's it could be doing better, but it's doing pretty well. The other 13 counties, there's some struggles, and that's why I go out for this, as I said, this capital for a day, go into a different county. And instead of expecting people that have issues and obstacles and challenges come to us, I mean, that's a bit arrogant in some respects. Come to Montpelier and we'll listen to you.
Sure.
I think it's important for us to go out and listen to them in their own backyards.
Of course.
And we find every time we do this, we go out for the whole day. And every time we do this, we find areas where we can help, and other areas that's going to take some time. And but again, listening is the important part.
What are you saying now to folks who say we shouldn't have to pay to compost? We have bigger worries, bigger fish to fry than to be sitting around worrying about plastic straws and bags and single-use plastic. What's your take?
Well, I think we can have both. It doesn't have to be either or. When you think about it, I think about my grandparents. My mom grew up on a farm in Plainfield. The Kate Farm was where she grew up, and my grandparents and on both sides. My dad's side, he grew up in Washington, Vermont, and they went through the Depression, And my grandmother, rest her soul. She saved everything. I mean, she aluminum foil. It just it kept in a ball. Rubber bands, newspapers. Everything had a use and a purpose.
Yeah.
And we take a lot of things for granted.
You bet.
We're
a grab and go society.
Yeah, we waste a lot.
Of course we
do.
I'm
a big recycler. I think that we should be not putting as much into our landfills. I think it can. I think it can make our economy better, more affordable if we don't waste as much and try and reuse as much as we can. But I don't like throwing everything away.
Right. But shouldn't we be encouraging composting right on our own property?
Absolutely. And I do at home.
Yeah.
And I think it's worthwhile. It's a lot. It's some work.
Yes, it is.
It's not. It's.
You're right.
But is it that much work when you think about all the scraps that go into our landfills and so forth? And we only have the problem is a lot of our landfills have closed down. Some for good reason. Yeah. Others it's been challenging. So we have pretty much just one left, and it's up in the Northeast Kingdom, which is unfortunate because it's such a beautiful area up there, and they feel as though they're being dumped on.
Of course.
But again, we don't have any other opportunities, not many choices, and so we have to make sure that we take care of that. But let's extend the life of it as best we can, and reuse as much as we can, recycle when we can.
It was great to see you in the parade on Saturday. It's so nice that you come home to Barrie, right close by. I know, but
it's
you're
home.
Such a busy guy, and I know this may seem or sound cliche, but it's so nice that you're in parades, that you're in the public eye like that. You shake hands, you rub elbows with your neighbors. How was the National Governors Association?
It was good.
It was a big conference, right?
I was in Utah.
Yeah.
And went to Colorado first for one conference, and then went to Utah for the other. And beautiful country out there. Obviously, we think we have mountains here.
Oh yeah.
They have mountains, but again, they learned a little bit about their outdoor recreation opportunities, and some that we have as well, and we can glean some information from them. And make Vermont even better and more special. I talked about mountain biking a bit, and I talked about jobs and how does this all relate. And I went to UTC Aerospace, now Collins Aerospace in Virgins. It's a hidden gem for us. There's about 150 employees there, good paying jobs, all in the aerospace sector. And when I was there, they just merged with another company, and they want to expand. And they needed about 100 people, 50 engineers they needed, and they're having trouble finding them. Just couldn't find any mechanical and electrical engineers. So we were trying to link them up with Norwich University, UVM, VTC, because they have programs for engineers. The next week, I was up in the Northeast Kingdom and at a place called Eden Ciders, and we have a lot in terms of our food and beverage branding in Vermont that's an attraction too. But we were up there and we were having a roundtable discussion about business opportunities, and there was a company that was mentioned, an engineering firm in Lyndonville, and they said, we don't have any problem finding engineers. And I said, well, geez, I was just telling the story about UTC Aerospace and how they were struggling. And the job's paying $100,000 a year, so they're well-paying jobs. So I said, what's your secret sauce? What do you do? I mean, because I want to share this with them because they need engineers. And they said, every time we need an engineer, we put an ad in a mountain biking magazine, and we get an instant hit. Because the millennials, the younger, they want that outdoor recreation. They're willing to move here because of that. And
really?
And most interesting thing, and I'm not saying this is the answer for everything.
Right up in Kingdom Trails neck of the woods.
That's right, up at Burke, Kingdom Trails. It's quite an attraction, and they're renowned. So again, find opportunities, link the two together. Quality of life, safest state in the country.
Straight shot up right out of Boston.
We have a lot to offer.
Isn't that something else? Thunder Road. We're shifting gears here.
Literally.
A little bit, yeah. Pretty good season so far.
Yeah, not bad. I didn't know how much I was going to be able to race. I've missed one race, I think, this year of the regular season. Missed a couple of the early ones. But I pulled off a win there about 3 weeks ago. And so that was special to me. And I didn't, I think I took a lot of those wins back 15 years ago for granted.
Sure.
And they're harder to come by these days. So I savor every time I get an opportunity to. You're
still going to keep your hat in the race, though.
Well, as long as I'm competitive. If I'm a back marker just in the way all the time, I'm sure I'm in the way at times, according to my competitors. But if I can still remain competitive, I'd like to continue to do it.
Do you ever have time to get in there with the guys and turn a few wrenches?
Well, I don't think they want me there anymore. There was a time that they did, and they complained when I didn't show up. But now I think they're quite content without me being there. But if something happens, I do go down and see if I can help out. I feel so guilty about what happened.
One of the last times I chatted with you, I was interviewing you for an article in a magazine, and it was the Best of Central Vermont magazine, and it was about whether or not you were going to race. And you at the time you were saying, I hope so. But we also spoke a little bit about whether or not you felt as though there may have been a little bit of a target on your back on the track because of the whole gun thing, the whole gun issue. Well, do you still feel that way?
Part of explaining my feelings back then, there were a lot of, online comments about protests and not going to go to Thunder Road if he's going to be there, and
we're going to take him out.
Yeah, I wasn't as concerned about my safety or the safety. I can handle myself on the racetrack fine, but I didn't want to take anything away from those who came to watch the races.
Exactly.
You mentioned
that.
Yeah, I mean,
you didn't want it to be a distraction.
They spend good money to go to the racetrack,
Right.
and it's not fair to them to have to see these political protests and so forth. So I said, if that's going to keep people from coming, then I'm willing to step back, and I did for a while. But I'm not saying that that's over, because I know I disappointed a lot of people, and a lot of people are still upset about that. But for the most part, my fellow racers have welcomed me back with open arms, and many of the fans have as well.
You've had a chance to hear what so many Vermonters have to say about the legislation regarding the gun issue. Have you softened a little bit, or are you still? Do you still feel as firmly about it as you did then?
Yeah,
you've listened to a lot of Vermonters.
Right. Well, public safety is the number one obligation of any government, and it certainly isn't a responsibility that I take lightly. And as you recall, the reason my position changed was that we came so close. So close. It wasn't a question of if, it was a question of which day.
Yeah, right, of course.
And that was going to happen. I mean, the young gentleman or young man that was planning this attack on his school in Fairhaven. He wrote it all. He had it all planned out, and he wanted to have more kills in Virginia Tech. And Virginia Tech, I believe, had 32. So his goal was to take more lives, more of young people's lives than Virginia Tech, and that weighed on me. And I thought we needed to do something, and we took action. I know it was controversial, but we took action. I think it was for the right reasons. I still believe in the Second Amendment. I still own guns myself, and but at the same time, times have changed. It's not the way it was 20 years ago. It shattered my impression of or maybe the insulation I felt that it could never happen in Vermont. That was what I thought. The illusion that none of this could happen in Vermont. And I saw it in real time. I read the affidavit, and if you haven't read the affidavit, you should.
Where is it?
I think you can. I can provide it for you,
or just Google it.
But it's alarming, concerning that again, this wasn't some outside force. This is a kid from Vermont.
I remember I asked you if you felt at the time that it was not on my watch, and I think your answer to me was, no, it has nothing to do with my watch. It has to do with not Vermont.
Yeah. We're one of the safest states in the country. Our quality of life is like none other, and we have to protect that. But at the same time, I think I said afterwards that we had done enough with some of the legislation. I did veto a bill, a 24-hour waiting period on handguns this spring. That'll come up for a veto override vote in January when they come back. The legislature comes back, but I wasn't convinced that it would do a whole lot of good, and it would just create more apprehension amongst the gun owners in Vermont. And so I vetoed the bill, and we'll see what happens from here. But again, I take it case by case. It's something that I just try and do what's right, regardless of the outcome, regardless of the consequences for me. And I just want to do what I think is appropriate for Vermonters.
A ton of respect for you for saying that. So many Vermonters respect you for feeling that way. You were brave. You faced a good number of them on the State House lawn.
Some of them my friends, by the way, not very happy with me. And I totally understand. I've felt this an obligation to face them so that they could voice their displeasure in a public forum. So I didn't want to hide behind anything. And I totally understand it. I understand both sides of this.
Sure.
But again, I have to live with the consequences of my actions either way.
Page I think it's 2 or 3 in the paper today. Governor signs presidential tax returns law. This in the Times-Argus this morning. What's going on?
I wonder what they're referring to.
They're basically talking about how they're doing it in Sacramento, how everything's got to be transparent with regard to elected officials, president, governor.
Oh, I see.
That all of
we
their
already
tax...
do that. You know, I here in the state, we don't have to here in Vermont, but I think, you know, from a transparency standpoint, I've always submitted my tax returns when I've run for statewide office, and my personal financial statement.
Sure.
And I do so. It's not comfortable.
Yeah,
you know,
course,
I'm a private person. It's a bit daunting in some respects, and to
make that public information.
To make it public, yeah. But at the same time, you want to make sure that people have faith in you, trust in you, and that you're not hiding anything. So,
Sure.
So I've done it every year that I've run.
Wow. Had a resident up at the nursing home today begged me to say, just ask him what he feels about Trump. Such a broad question, but I'm sure you get asked that all the time.
Every single week. I have a press conference every single week, and not many governors can say that. They shake their head when I tell them that when I go on some of these conferences, and some of them have them once a month, once every quarter. Sometimes not at all. They let their press communications people do that, and they're only on when there's an emergency. But I think it's important to answer the questions every week. And again, it's not comfortable. You're from the media; it's not always comfortable.
Of course.
But I think it's important that people hear what you have to say. So yesterday I had my press conference, my official press conference at Billings Museum in Woodstock, and we answered some questions, some Trump questions and so forth. And then they asked if the folks at the Firearm Museum, they had a school or a group of young campers there, day camp, and wondered if I would come over and say hi. So I did, and they're 5 to 7 year olds. And I thought, well, we'll see what they come up with for questions. I got a Trump question.
Oh my God.
I got a Biden question. They asked me about Brexit.
Really?
Yeah, a 7-year-old asked me about Brexit. Wanted to know if I'd had surgery. Wanted to know why I ran for office. Mm-hmm. Really good questions in some respects. So, the Trump question, I call them, I tried to explain this in my regular press conference, not with the 5 to 7 year olds, but my regular press conference. I was asked about, I'd done a letter to the editor with my friend Governor Sununu about the adoption of USMCA, the trade agreement with Mexico and Canada. And so we penned one together. And so I was asked about that, and because I think it's important. It's one of the president's initiatives. And I was critical of the president when we weren't negotiating with Canada, because there's a lot of apprehension on the Canadian side for not having any agreement.
Sure.
So this USMCA is something agreed to by Canada, agreed to by Mexico. We should move forward on this. And Congress now is playing politics, I believe, with this, because they don't want to give the president a win. So I'm just as critical of them for not taking action. They should be taking action on this issue, as I was with President Trump for some of the statements he's made, some of what I believe are racist statements, and condemning him for that. So I call him. I feel as though I'm like an umpire. Call him as I see them. And if he does something wrong, I'm going to call him on it. If he does something right, I'm going to applaud him. So that's the way I'm rolling on this. And this, I don't like his actions, but at the same time, or his comments and his rhetoric and the polarization it's causing across the country. But we have a good economy. So
yeah. Thank you so much for all of your time I know you're a busy guy. And thanks to Tracy Lulud for getting you in here, too, for her help.
No problem.
You got a great team over there.
Yeah, I'm very proud of the team I surrounded myself with. And it's like on the racetrack or in business or in politics, you're only as good as the people you put around you, and I have a great team.
I've heard you say that many times. Yeah. I hope to have you back in here at some point.
Well, it went by quick.
It did. Yeah. It did. And congratulations for getting your legislature wrapped up. It's been a busy few months.
Yeah, we had a good session on both sides. It went well.
Minimum wage,
that'll come up again.
That'll come up.
That'll come up again.
Marijuana, we're still fighting about that.
Yeah, that'll come up.
Yeah. I know you've got so much on your plate. Thank you again.
Yeah, thanks.
We really appreciate it. Governor Phil Scott, this time around on Aired Out. Thank you so much to Gauthier's Quality Grounds and Maintenance in Orange. Wow, do they do a great job. Landscaping, mowing. You dream it up, they'll take care of you. And, of course, Fontaine Forestry and Millworks. Custom orders, rough cut, plain, tongue and groove, shiplap, kiln-dried, hardwood. Great people over there, Mark Fontaine and the rest of the gang. Two of my presenting sponsors right there, along with FGB Theaters. Once Upon a Time playing. Tony got a chance to see that. Peak Entertainment, CBDcrave.com. Donnybrook Fight Promotions over in Williamstown. And thank you ever so much to Cruise Planners, yourvoyageplanner.com. Donna Sherman, great lady, who's going to be very busy coming up this fall and into this winter booking vacations. Thank you again to Governor Phil Scott and his team, and to Abubakar and Tony Campos. We'll catch you next time. This is Aired Out.